Hey guys, Smelling Roses here. Well, you guys asked for it, and it's been a very long time in coming, but Smelling Roses delivers. Welcome to the first episode in an ongoing series that I plan to do discussing wilderness navigation, Smelling Roses style. Okay, so I'd like to start with a short disclaimer. I'm not an expert in this field, and I've never received any formal training. The little I know comes from my own personal experience, and these videos will just be basic information, a very good introduction to someone new to the topic, and a good reminder for those of us with a little more experience. It never hurts to review even basic information regardless of our level. Okay guys, so this video serves as a basic introduction to my series and to the topic of wilderness navigation. I hope to make each video in the series capable of standing alone, meaning that you could watch part 3 without having seen parts 1 and 2 before it, for example, but I do recommend watching all the parts in their proper sequence. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so why go into the wilderness in the first place? Well, I think there are many reasons why you may be venturing out into some woods or into a wild place. Naturally, you could be involved in some type of scientific research, or perhaps you're involved in conservation efforts. But most of us, I suspect, will be going out into the woods for sporting purposes or for recreation. When we head out into places such as these, we can gain valuable skills, gain personal confidence and self-reliance, can get in touch with yourself and nature, and participate in human traditions that go back thousands and thousands of years. It's great exercise, and it's very healthy for both your body and your mind. But whatever your reason for getting outdoors or getting into the wild, make sure you understand your personal reason and your goals. It will help you to prepare properly and to make the most of your experience when you're out in the field. Well, if you haven't already fallen asleep by now, let me bore you just a little bit with some definitions. Just going to mention a couple of common terms that you're going to hear probably quite frequently throughout this video series. First, when we talk about navigation, what do we mean? Navigation refers to a process. It's a process of locating a destination, determining how to get there, and maintaining your direction as you travel towards that destination. So one very important component of navigation is known as orientation. Basically, that is a process of just knowing exactly where you are and knowing which direction you face. It's definitely possible to know your orientation without doing any navigation. For example, I can sit right here and know exactly where I am in this forest and which direction I face, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm not trying to go anywhere, but I am oriented. However, it is nearly impossible to navigate without being oriented. If I did not know where I was, it would be very difficult to reach another destination. And when you're out in the wilderness, it's a good idea to try to stay oriented at all times. Another term that you're going to hear throughout this series is route finding. Route finding is simply finding the best direction of travel to reach your desired destination. We're going to talk more about it later on in the series, but there are some factors that you should consider when you're selecting your route. Those include the terrain, your skill level, how much time you have, your group size, for example. As I mentioned, we'll get into that more later on in the series, but I just want you to keep in mind that sometimes the shortest route is not always the best one. So there are a few things you should do before you ever head out on any outdoor adventure. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this particular topic. You should do your own research. There's plenty of information on YouTube and on the internet in general, but you want to make sure you have all the necessary gear for the particular adventure that you plan on taking. You want to make sure you have all the gear you need to travel safely, comfortably, and enjoyably. You don't have to have the most expensive gear, but do make sure your gear is of high quality and reliable. Another excellent recommendation before going outdoors is to take a simple first aid course. If you can find a first aid course that is specifically related to wilderness first aid, that's great. But any general first aid course will be very excellent and useful information to have. Most first aid is a matter of common sense usually, but it's a good idea to study and practice some of the techniques before actually heading out into the field. Leave a travel plan with a responsible person. Let them know where you plan to visit and when you plan to return. It's a good idea to give that person as much information as you possibly can. Give them the name of the trails you plan to take, the location of the trailhead. If you have GPS coordinates, that's excellent. The more details you can provide, the faster help could get to you should the need arise. Now that's advice that you always hear, and it is excellent advice. However, there is one piece of very critical information missing, and I almost never hear anyone mention it. I think it's important to let the responsible person know what you want them to do in the event that you don't return or contact them as you originally planned. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that at this time. I'd like to keep this video short, but that is an interesting topic, and I feel that we may explore it in future episodes of this series. Guys, I really don't care what you do inside the privacy of your own home, inside your own house. If you want to live in a garbage dump, that's your choice. Go right ahead, more power to you. But please remember, whether you're on a city street or deep in the Amazon jungle somewhere, when you leave your house, please remember to practice all the principles of leave no trace. If I come into an area after you, I should not know that you were ever there. I especially do not want to find your trash and your garbage. Clean up. Pack out what you pack in. It's very simple, and it's about respect. It's about respect for the place itself, and it's about respect for those people that want to come and enjoy that place after you have left the area. So guys, I'm sure all of my subscribers and viewers are using good practices when they are out visiting wilderness places, and I'm sure you guys are doing a great job out on the trail. But if you are one of those people leaving trash on the trail, be warned. Be warned that I actually pray that one day I will catch you in the act of leaving trash on the trail. And you don't want to know what will happen to you when I find you. So guys, one final consideration. There's one piece of gear that you should take with you in the field, and believe it or not, everybody has it, and it's totally free. And it's perhaps the most important piece of gear you have. In fact, I'm sure it's the most important part. That's your brain. Surviving an adventure in the wilderness is really not that difficult, but you gotta be smart. Keep your cool even when, or perhaps especially when, any problems do arise. Stay calm, even if you become disoriented or you have a problem with some of your gear, or perhaps you encounter some aggressive wildlife. Just stay calm and keep your cool. Most of the time things will work out just fine. So guys, as you navigate down a road or a trail, or even just bushwhacking through the woods, you should always keep in mind that some situation could arise, forcing you to turn around and backtrack down the same way you came. Perhaps the trail could be blocked for some reason, the terrain could prevent you from moving forward, you could become injured or have some other emergency. Whatever the case may be, you may find that you have to turn around. And in that case, you want to keep in mind that, especially in rugged terrain, you don't want to climb up something that you would not be able to climb back down should you need to. Vice versa, you would not want to climb down into a ravine, for example, and you would not be able to climb back up. Even if you had planned to make a loop or have someone pick you up in another location, you should still always keep in mind that you should be able to return the same way you came in the event of an emergency. Now in my case, I almost always travel alone, and I just sort of like it that way. So in a way, I'm not taking my own advice, but it is a good idea to travel in groups, small groups. Some people recommend a group size of 4. The reason being that if one of the group members became injured, one member could stay with the injured person while 2 other people went for help, and one person wouldn't have to go for help by themselves. Those are things you can consider. It all depends on your skill level and what you feel comfortable with. But it is a good idea not to go alone, especially if you're inexperienced. Find another individual or a group of people with more experience until you learn the ropes. Well guys, that just about wraps up the introduction to this series. Please stay tuned for future installments of the series. Coming very soon, I'm going to have part 2 ready for you. And in part 2, we're going to examine selecting and using maps for your adventures. Later on in part 3, we will introduce the compass to your toolbox. And I expect there will likely be a part 4 where we will kind of put everything together, and I'll show you guys kind of how I do it when I'm out in the field. So as I mentioned, this video series is going to be primarily kind of basic introductory information, and I probably won't go much beyond the 4 parts that I mentioned. That's kind of what I have planned for right now. But if you guys want to see more, or you like what I'm doing, please like my videos or comment. Let me know what kind of things you'd like to see. Be sure to tell me what you don't like as well. All constructive criticism is very welcomed. But if you guys want to see more, we can certainly work on it if there's interest. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I'm looking forward to bringing you this series. So I hope you guys will stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the trail.